Today we're going to focus on Chapter 14, Managing the Marketing Mix, the 4 Ps of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. So let's talk about product first, the first of the 4 Ps. And I'll be talking about product until I move on to the second of the 4 Ps. So the first thing we want to talk about with product is the notion of value. And value is getting something that's quality at a fair price, not necessarily the lowest price, but a fair price. So what customers will perceive as value will be very subjective depending on many factors and depending on the individual customer. Notice, according to the book, products that consumers won't give up. Well, I will agree that internet and cell phone service people won't give up, but you've seen a lot of people cut the cord for cable television, so I don't necessarily agree with that. However, other products are considered expendable products because the value isn't worth it when times get tough. So such things as luxury handbags and satellite radio tend to go when times get a little bit tougher. In essence, when we talk about product, it's really looking at everything that the product offers, otherwise known as the total product offer. That's everything consumers evaluate when deciding on whether to buy something or not buy something. And the total product offering can look at many dimensions, both something that's tangible as well as intangible. I really like to look at this slide that's a visual representation of the total product offering here. Take some time to take a look at this. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between a product line on this slide and a product mix on the next slide. Product line simply is a group of products that are physically similar or intended for a similar market that's usually sold by a company. So for instance, as you can see, one company sells several types of competing brands, such as Tide, Era, Downy, or Bold. Don't confuse the product line with the product mix. The product mix is the combination of all the various product lines offered by a manufacturer or service provider. So for instance, Procter & Gamble's product mix of toiletries and other items would include such things as toothpaste, diapers, batteries, and bar soap. This goes to the notion of product differentiation, and that's the creation of either real or perceived product differences. So marketers oftentimes use a mix of pricing, advertising, and or packaging to create different images, whether real or perceived. Think about such things as bottled water and how different packaging or different looks will differentiate one product from another. Speaking of packaging, packaging is very important. So packaging can change or improve the basic product. Good packaging can also make a product more attractive to retailers. Think of Fiji water as an example. So what are some key functions of packaging? Well, the first thing is to attract the consumer's attention or interest. And then obviously from a safety perspective to protect the goods inside and that they're tamper-proof. Be easy to open. Well, usually, how many times have you tried to open up a bag of potato chips and you vowed after the potato chips flew all over the place you would never use that product again? So those are some of the key functions of packaging. Products oftentimes are bundled together. That's grouping 2 or more products together and pricing them as one unit. So for instance, the example on the slide shows that Virgin Airlines will bundle its quote-unquote door-to-door limo service and in-flight massage with some tickets. So you can see they're bundling an experience together of both goods and services. Other things to understand with product is the notion of branding. And branding is simply the name, symbol, or design that identifies the goods or services and distinguishes them from their competitors' offerings. So, for instance, if I were just to put my hand over that bottle of ketchup, over the name Heinz, and you just saw tomato ketchup, how many of you guys would be able to tell that was still Heinz ketchup, even though the name wasn't on it, based on the symbol and designs that are on the packaging of the product? A trademark is a type of brand that has exclusive legal protection for both the brand name and its design. So think of, like, for instance, a swoosh for Nike. You need to be aware of the terms on this slide with regards to brands. You need to know about brand equity, brand loyalty, and brand awareness. Brand equity is the value of the brand name and associated symbols. What's the dollar value of that? Loyalty is the degree to which the consumers who purchase your brand are satisfied and are committed to further purchases. So would you buy a certain type of shampoo because you're loyal to that shampoo, that brand, over another type of shampoo? Brand awareness is how quickly or easily a given brand name comes to mind when someone mentions a particular product category. So if you think fast food, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? A brand manager is a person or people who are responsible for a particular brand and handles all the elements of the marketing mix: product, price, place, and promotion. Continuing our discussion on product, the next concept, the product life cycle, goes to your second essay on your final exam. Simply put, the product life cycle is a theoretical model of what happens to two things: sales and profits for a product over a period of time. And these period of time are put into different cycle stages. So the 4 stages of the product life cycle is 1, introduction; 2, growth; 3, maturity; and 4, decline. All products go through these 4 stages. And remember, we look at it from 2 different metrics: sales and profits. So you can see here, sales is noted in blue, profits is noted in orange. Always notice that here, just because you have sales doesn't mean you have a profit. So because both in the introduction and decline stage, you can see when certain products are introduced, you're not making a profit even though you have sales. As you can see, even though sales plateau, generally speaking, during the maturity stage, profits plateau earlier during the growth stage. And a lot of that's because of increased competition. As your new product grows, people take notice and make similar competing products. So what I expect you to know for your exam is to be able to take a product that you make up and be able to look at, take the product through the product life cycle, the 4 stages. Make sure you understand the definition of each of the 4 stages, which can be found in the book, and how your product relates to both sales and profits as you go through each of the 4 stages of the product life cycle. As part of your study guide, you should probably look at the marketing mix elements for the product life cycle. Remember, the marketing mix is the 4 P's: product, price, place, and promotion. And you can see over on the left side is each of the 4 stages of the product life cycle: introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. This is in your book and is a good reference, a study guide to help you answer your second essay question. So we're going to move away from the first P, product, and now go to the second P of the marketing mix, which is known as price. And there are certain objectives when pricing a product for sale. First thing is you're always trying to achieve a profit, so you got to price it high enough to recover your costs. Second one is maybe potentially to build traffic, so maybe you have a lower pricing to stimulate interest in more traffic, or maybe a lower price to achieve a greater market share, or maybe a higher price to create a prestige image. So there's different objectives based on the type of product. So let's look at some pricing strategies. First one is cost-based pricing. And cost-based pricing measures the cost of producing a product, including the materials, the labor, and overhead. So what's the cost that it makes? And then you price it a certain percentage above it to make a profit. Another pricing strategy is known as target costing, and that's designing a product that satisfies the customers and meets the firm's targeted profit margin, so your target costing. Finally, another strategy is competition-based pricing. You keep your friends close and your enemies closer. This strategy is based on not what you think your product's worth, but how your competitors are pricing similar products. Other techniques used with regards to pricing is break-even analysis. And this is a process used to determine profitability at different levels of sales. And simply put, the break-even point is where revenues equal costs. So every sale after that will be profitable. Every sale up to that point will be at a loss. And really what we're looking at are costs, both fixed and variable. Total fixed costs are all costs that remain the same no matter how much is produced or sold. So no matter how many you sell, you still have to use electricity. Same amount. You have the same amount of rent. Those are fixed costs. The opposite is variable costs. Those are costs that change according to how much you produce. So the next slide will give you the mathematical formula how to determine the break-even point. So the break-even point is your numerator, or the top part, is your fixed costs, and your denominator or bottom part is the price of one unit minus its variable cost for one unit. So let's look at an example here. So if you have a total fixed cost of $200,000, no matter how much you produce, and a variable cost for $2 per item for each unit, and you sell it for $4 per unit, what's going to be your break-even point? Well, your fixed cost, your numerator, is going to be $200,000. Your denominator is going to be the price minus your variable costs, or 4 minus 2, or $2. So your numerator is 200,000, your denominator is 2, and so it takes 100,000 items to sell at $4 each in order for you to break even. Every item after that, you're going to make $2. Why? Because you're selling it for 4 and its variable cost is 2. So each item above $100,000, you're going to make $2 of profit. Other strategies to look at here is skimming price strategy. This is when you price new products very high to recover initial startup costs and make high profits while there's very little competition. Oftentimes this is done with electronics and sort of new gadgety items as people who are first users of those products or innovators want to grab it. A different or opposite price strategy is known as penetration price strategy. Here you price the products very low with the hope of you attracting more buyers because of the low price, and thus discouraging other companies from even bothering to compete in the market. Another alternative to look at is EDLP, acronym for Everyday Low Pricing. This is where you set prices lower than the competitors with no special sales. The price is the same every single day, no gimmicks. Final two types of pricing strategies that retailers especially try to implement is high-low pricing and psychological pricing. High-low pricing is using regular prices that are higher than EDLP stores, except during special sales and holidays when the prices go lower. Finally, psychological pricing is pricing products at price points that make the product appear less expensive than it actually is. So for instance, an item isn't $500, but rather it's $499.99. The third P of the marketing mix is place. Now we're on place. And place is a lot more encompassing than it appears at first glance. Marketing intermediaries are organizations that assist in moving tangible goods and intangible services from B2B customers or business to business and from business to consumers or B2C. They are called intermediaries because they're in the middle of a series of companies that distribute goods. So the group of marketing intermediaries make up what's known as the channel of distribution. These group of marketing intermediaries join together to transport as well as store tangible goods from producers all the way to the end consumer. What are some of the different types of marketing intermediaries? Well, sometimes you have agents and brokers. They bring buyers and sellers together. Wholesalers is a type of intermediary that sells products to other organizations, such as retailers or manufacturers. And retailers are a type of marketing intermediary that sells products to the ultimate consumer. They're the last stop before it goes to the consumer, B2C. Please take some time at your discretion to look at the different channels of distribution for both consumer goods on the left as well for industrial goods on the right. You're probably wondering, why do we even need these marketing intermediaries at all? Well, they perform different marketing tasks both faster as well as cheaper than most manufacturers of goods could provide them. Thus, marketing intermediaries make markets more efficient and in turn reduce transactions on a bulk rate. This slide really helps to sum up how marketing intermediaries create efficiency. So on the left, here, if you were a manufacturer of a good and you wanted to personally deliver your goods to every single retailer, you could see how much time consuming it would be. Wouldn't it be easier as a manufacturer just to ship your goods to one wholesaler, all of them at once, and let the wholesaler in turn sell it to the retailer? So you eliminate all the logistics and transportation costs and headache with going there. It's much easier just to get rid of all of your goods in one swoop. So let's look at wholesale intermediaries. They generally make up the business-to-business sales. However, you as consumers are much more familiar with retailers and wholesalers because that's where you buy the final products from. Other intermediaries that we've talked about briefly are agents and brokers. Agents generally maintain long-term relationships, whereas brokers usually work on a one-off or temporary basis. The marketing intermediary you're probably at most know about is retailers. And currently, there are millions of retailers in the US, not including websites. So retailers, or what we know as brick and mortar retailers, employ millions of people. The question is now, what's the future of brick and mortar retailers, especially as less people have cars and pandemics and the like, and the rise of websites such as Amazon have curtailed the need to have people go to places to buy their goods and services. Let's look at the different types of retail stores. So we're still on place. So you can see we have all these different types of stores, such as department stores, warehouse clubs, outlet stores, etc. You're familiar with these because you've probably visited a lot of them. There are different retail distribution strategies. In fact, there are three of them. 1, intensive distribution, 2, selective distribution, and 3, exclusive distribution. This intensive distribution puts products into as many retail outlets as possible. Think like Coca-Cola or gum is in lots of different places. Selective distribution uses only a preferred group of available retailers in an area. So for instance, you can't buy Under Armour clothes everywhere. You can buy them at Dick's Sporting Goods and a few other retail locations. Exclusive distribution is the use of only one retailer outlet given a given geographic area. You see this most of the time with regards to new car sales. So, for instance, if you want to buy a Toyota in the Antelope Valley, there are only two locations to buy a new Toyota in this geographic area. As I mentioned, many types of retailing is going by the wayside and alternative forms of retailing are establishing. By far, the biggest one is electronic retailing or online retailing, selling tangible goods and intangible services to the ultimate consumers online. And by now, you're very well versed within the story of Amazon. But other things, such as vending machines, dispense convenience goods and even high-end goods. Think of Carvana as basically a vending machine for new automobiles. In addition, direct selling goods and services to customers directly to them at their home and workplace, or even direct marketing. Now, let's look finally at supply chains when we talk about place. And supply chains are all the linked activities that various companies must perform to move tangible goods and intangible services from their basic raw materials to when they're made and then shipped to the ultimate consumers. The biggest concern of supply chain managers is selecting a proper mode of transportation in order to get goods and services quickly to the place but still profitable. This slide compares different transportation modes and take some time to look at it, but really the most important thing to notice is the direct correlation between cost and speed. Generally speaking, the slower the speed, the lower the cost, and the higher the speed, the more costly it'll be. So you can see different modes such as rail, trucks, pipeline, ships, and via air. The final P of the marketing mix, after product, price, and place, is promotion. And you can see here the promotional mix, and this is the combination of all the various promotional tools that an organization uses. So in the next few slides, we're going to talk about different types of promotion, such as advertising, personal selling, public relations, and sales promotions. This all goes to what's known as the IMC, or the Integrated Marketing Communication. This combines all the various promotional tools into one comprehensive strategy. The first type of promotion I want to talk about is advertising. What you need to know about advertising is two main things. First is you pay for it. And second, generally speaking, it's non-personal communication. It's not one-on-one communication. So you pay for it, and it's non-personal communication through various sources of media. So, think about, you can see it for such as whether it's a magazine advertisement, a billboard advertisement, a television commercial, a radio jingle, etc. There are three major goals of paid non-personal communication, otherwise known as advertising. First, to inform you of the product. Then once you are informed, second, to persuade. And finally, maybe to remind you of a product you haven't used in a while. And although many people are still cutting the cord in terms of cable TV, television advertising is still the dominant media, even though such technology has been implemented to reduce advertising's effectiveness over the airwaves. Such things as DVRs will challenge TV advertising because viewers can easily skip ads. In order then to get around that, many companies have done advertisement through what's known as product placement. This is where advertisers may pay to put their products into such things as TV shows and movies where the audience will be forced to see them. And this is an example of the movie Talladega Nights on this slide. Now you're starting to see more innovative ways to pay for advertising and paying celebrities or famous people to use social media to get your product out there, such as pay per tweet. So when Kim Kardashian, one of the most famous people on social media, recommends a product, oftentimes she's paid to do that because of her many followers that she has. You need to think of advertising not just locally but globally. But problems is when you try to fit one uniform paid message to an entire globe because of different cultures and different tastes and likes. The second type of promotion is known as personal selling. And here it's face to face, it's one to one or one to two, but you can see presentation or promotion of a product that includes search for new prospects or customers and follow up service. This is generally done through people known as salespeople. The best salespeople are not the ones who speak, but first listen to their customers' needs, and then once understanding those needs, to help those customers find a solution in the most simplistic form possible. In order to do this, salespeople must sell to the ultimate consumers. And there's various steps that you should take a look at when a salesperson sells to the ultimate consumer. It starts with the approach, and then to ask questions and listen to the responses. Based on those responses, you make a presentation, and then hopefully you ask for the sale. And once the sale's over, you follow up to find out if there's anything else you can do to help them out or for a further sale. The third type of promotion is known as public relations or PR. This is unlike trying to sell a specific product. Under PR, it evaluates the attitudes of the public, changing policies and procedures in response to the public, and then executes a program of action as well as information with the basic thing to earn public understanding as well as public acceptance. It's making you feel good about the company as opposed to a particular product. One type of public relations is known as publicity. You always heard the term that any publicity is good publicity, and most of the time that's true. Publicity simply is any information about an individual product or organization that's distributed through the media and is not paid for or controlled by the seller. So it's not, publicity is not paid for it, so it's free, which is nice. That's a big advantage. And it also reaches people who ordinarily wouldn't even look at an advertisement. And because of this, it tends to be more believable than advertising, but you don't have control over it. So for instance, it's goldenpalace.com. No one's looking at the goldenpalace.com, unfortunately. So the disadvantages of this free form of publicity is you don't have control over how the media will or will not use the story. And usually publicity is good, but can also be bad, as you can see. The last type of promotion I want to talk about is in terms sales promotions. So sales promotion is a type of promotion that stimulates consumer purchasing and dealer interest by means of short-term activities. So trying to get someone in the immediate short term to try your product. And we can look at this from a business to business perspective and a business to consumer perspective. From a business to business perspective, some sales promotion techniques include such things as catalogs, conventions, and trade shows. When you're looking at techniques for sales promotion from a business to consumer perspective, you can use some of those things as well. However, such things as coupons or sampling or sweepstakes or contests are other very good sales promotion techniques in the short or near term. Maybe the best type of promotion is done by word of mouth of fellow consumers who've tried products and like them and become what's called a product champion. These are people who tell others about products they have purchased, hopefully that they like. And you can see there are certain industries where word of mouth plays really important things, such as a car repair shop. When you have a good mechanic, you trust the advice of your friends who have had a good experience. Or for daycare, if you're going to put your kid in daycare, you want to make sure that you're getting the best daycare possible, and you're going to, word of mouth promotion goes a long way to make a competent choice. Other promotional tools, especially in the age of the internet, is viral marketing. And this is where you pay customers to say positive things on the internet, and then hopefully that those things will go viral or catch on to a lot of people. Finally, I want to talk about with promotion the difference between push and pull strategies. They're opposite. Push strategy means where the manufacturer of the good or service is pushing the product to the retailer and forcing the retailer to carry the product. So here the advertising is not focused on the end consumer, but rather to get products stocked on shelves. Whereas a pull strategy is the opposite. Here the manufacturer uses heavy advertising not towards the retailer, but towards the end consumer and forces the consumer to pull the product to them by the consumer goes to the store and says, why don't you have this product? I've seen this on TV, I want it. This concludes our lecture on Chapter 14, Managing the Marketing Mix.